What if humans had wings? Not the kind imagined in mythologies or fairy tales, but real, functional wings attached to our bodies, like those of birds or bats. Think about it for a moment. What would it be like to look at the sky and not just observe it, but to be a part of it? To feel the cold wind on your skin as you glide through dense clouds cutting through the air like a falcon. Imagine an ordinary morning where, instead of catching a bus or getting stuck in chaotic traffic, you simply spread your wings and head for the horizon. Fascinating, isn't it? But also full of questions. How would our lives, our society change if we could fly? Share your thoughts on this. Let's continue. Close your eyes and picture the scene. Thousands of people filling the sky, each with different wings. Colorful, perhaps even with unique patterns that reflect our individuality. Children learning to fly in parks, stumbling through the air like they're riding a bike for the first time. Would there be flight lanes in the sky, like streets in cities? Or would flying be chaotic, full of collisions and near misses? And more importantly, what would it feel like to be so far from the ground, to leave behind the constraints of weight and gravity? Would it make us freer or just create new kinds of limitations? The idea of having wings touches something deep within us, an ancient, almost primal desire. Ever since humanity began observing birds, we've wanted to fly. We've looked at them with envy, trying to uncover the secret of their lightness. That's where myths like Icarus came from. He flew too high and paid the price for his ambition. But what if it were different? What if our bodies had already evolved to carry this dream? Would humanity be more united, more connected to nature? Or would the sky, which has always been a symbol of freedom, become just another territory to be fought over? Let's explore this together, dive into the possibilities, and imagine how wings would transform our biology, our cities, and even our way of seeing the world. Because in the end, the real question isn't just about the act of flying, but about how it would change the essence of who we are. Stay with me, and let's discover what this journey reveals. Now reflect further on what it would truly mean to have fully functional wings, not just as decorative accessories, but as living extensions of our bodies, as essential as our arms or legs. Think of wings made up of strong muscles, lightweight bones, and perhaps even feathers or membranes, all meticulously adapted to allow us to fly. It sounds magical, but it would require a complete reimagining of the human body. To start, let's talk about weight. Our bodies, as they are now, simply weren't designed to leave the ground. To fly, our skeletal structure would need to be transformed, something akin to that of birds. Light, hollow, and incredibly strong. This means we'd likely weigh much less. Imagine that, human bodies more slender, lean, perhaps even fragile at first glance, but incredibly efficient in the air. Would we be taller, lighter? How would this change the way we see ourselves, or even our ideas of beauty and strength? And the size of these wings? To support a human body in the air, they'd need to be enormous, with a wingspan of 4 to 5 meters or more. Now picture this. These wings wouldn't just hang on our backs like a backpack. They'd be connected to our rib cage, requiring powerful muscles for the constant motion of flapping and gliding. Have you ever seen the pectoral muscles of a bird like an eagle? They're incredibly strong, built to endure hours of flight. Now imagine the human equivalent, even larger pectorals, broad shoulders, reinforced joints, all designed to handle the immense effort of flying. And it doesn't stop there. Our shoulders, typically narrow and adapted for carrying moderate weight, would have to be wider, almost like natural delta wings. The spine in turn would need to be reinforced, perhaps even slightly arched, to support the weight of the wings when we weren't flying. Imagine how strange, yet fascinating, it would be to look at a person with these features. They'd still be recognizably human, but with an almost alien touch, as if they'd evolved in another world. And what about the wings themselves? Would they have feathers, soft and aerodynamic like those of a bird, or would they be made of membranes like those of a bat? If they were feathered, we'd need to care for them constantly. Can you imagine the maintenance these wings would require? Special brushes to clean and arrange the feathers, perhaps even a daily grooming routine similar to how we care for our hair. And if they were membranes, like a bat's, they'd be more durable, but also fragile in some areas. A small tear could be catastrophic during flight. Now, picture this scene. Instead of human bodies as we know them, imagine streets and parks filled with people sporting these adaptations. Someone walking with their wings folded, taking up space as if they were wearing a giant cape. Others stretching their wings in the sun, perhaps as part of a daily ritual. Something between the strange and the magnificent. It wouldn't just be a functional change. It would transform the very essence of how we perceive and occupy the world around us. But the question goes beyond biology. How would society change with the ability to fly? Think about architecture. Our cities would no longer be limited to the ground. Buildings would be designed with landing platforms on every floor. Without the need for stairs or elevators, urban design would be revolutionized. Airspace, currently reserved for planes and drones, would be divided into human flight lanes, a network of invisible paths cutting through the sky. And what about the freedom of movement? Flying would be a visceral experience, a direct connection to the environment. Feeling the wind on your face, navigating through clouds, soaring over valleys and mountains without barriers. However, freedom would come at a cost. Like any skill, flying would require practice, coordination, and stamina. Turbulence, storms, and natural predators like birds of prey would be constant threats. The evolution of wings wouldn't completely eliminate ground transportation or the need for technology. Human flight would be efficient for short distances, but for longer journeys, planes or ground vehicles would still be more practical. Additionally, the energy needed to sustain flight would require a highly efficient metabolism. We'd need to consume calories at extraordinary levels, perhaps adopting diets reminiscent of elite athletes. Now, consider the cultural impact. Having wings would change the way we perceive ourselves. In many cultures, wings symbolize divinity, freedom, or transcendence. If everyone had them, those meanings would shift. Who knows? They might become an extension of our identity, much like hair or clothing. Wings could be decorated, painted, or modified, reflecting our personalities. However, this reality wouldn't be free from inequalities. Not everyone would be a master of flight. Some people might be born with smaller or less functional wings. Others might be unable to fly due to genetic conditions or accidents. This would create divisions in society, a new form of discrimination based on physical abilities. Additionally, how would we manage resources? Entire cities would have to adapt, requiring colossal investments to make the airspace safe and accessible. Another fascinating aspect is the interaction with the environment. If humans could fly, we might become more aware of the impact of our actions on nature. Imagine gliding over deforested areas or polluted oceans. Seeing the direct consequence of our behavior could awaken a deeper sense of environmental responsibility. On the flip side, human flight would also raise ecological concerns. The natural airspace of birds and other animals would be encroached upon. Species that depend on the sky for survival could be threatened. Moreover, the increase in human activity in the skies could introduce new pollutants or disturbances to the ecosystem. And what about human experiences? Wings would redefine our dreams and aspirations. The sky, once unreachable, would become an everyday space, yet still filled with mystery. Who knows? Flying might also teach us to appreciate the ground in ways we've never considered before. Every landing would be a return, a reunion with solid ground that, despite everything, would still be our origin and home. Finally, reflect on what freedom truly means. Flying is a universal metaphor for breaking free from constraints, transcending limits. But as humans, are we really ready for total freedom? Or would we, even with wings, continue to seek something more? Something that perhaps only exists in the deepest corners of our imagination? In the end, what makes this idea so captivating is not just the act of flying itself, but the infinite possibilities it carries. Human wings would be more than functional appendages. They would symbolize a new era, an invitation to dream bigger and explore the unknown with renewed eyes and a lighter heart. So, what did you think of this trip to the hypothetical universe of the board? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to receive our next videos. See you next time.